How to get inspired in your work? That is the question we are pondering today on The Art of Lifing with Keka. Today we're going to talk about the art of lifing at work. We spend so many of our waking hours at work that it's really important we find ways to be inspired at our work and inspired by our work. So I got a really massive dose of inspiration from an event I attended recently, and there were some lessons that I pulled away from there that I wanted to share with you. So this was the Dovetail Summit. It is hosted by this incredible woman. Her name is Alexis Dean, and she curates female founders and entrepreneurs from around the world and brings them together in Canada and gives them an incredible experience where they can learn and grow and connect with each other. So we were in Fernie, BC, in the middle of the Rockies, this gorgeous setting, and from the very first meal that I had at that retreat, there were lessons that I pulled where I thought, wow, I'm going to keep this with me for a really long time. So the first lesson was the power of intention. So picture this. I'm walking into this restaurant. I've got my meal with me, and I'm going to come sit down in this open restaurant. And there were 4 women from the retreat who were already sort of mid-conversation, mid-meal, and they were eating, and there's a bunch of empty tables and chairs around. So my first inclination was to go to another table because I didn't really want to disturb the middle of the conversation because I knew other women were coming in too. But these women instantly looked up and said, "Oh, hey, you're part of Dovetail. Come on over and join us." They got up in the middle of their meal and started moving their tables and plates and chairs and cutlery, all to make room for me. We brought in another table and I joined them. And then throughout the meal, every time somebody else came, we all stepped aside and we made room for them to join us together. What a way to feel included. How many times do we go into our everyday offices and between departments, we don't even sit with the people that we know? So this was really an eye-opener for me, was that team building doesn't just come from the circumstances around us. It doesn't just start with a facilitator telling us that we have to do something. It really starts with the power of intention. So those women that came into the retreat with us came in with the intention to get to know each other and make some powerful connections within each other. And so as a result, every woman who came in felt so welcomed and so included from day one. Lesson number 2. This is all about the fact that today, work and life have no boundaries anymore. So the first night that we were there, Alexis held this fireside chat with us. So all of us women were sitting under the stars among the trees, and the first topic of conversation was actually about sex and relationships. And so we had a chance to sit and talk and ask questions that normally we would never ask. It had nothing to do with work. But the biggest aha moment I got from that evening is, number 1, most of us all have very similar questions, no matter how embarrassed we might be to ask. But number 2, our mindset and our heart and how healthy they are and how expansive they are all affect our work. And so in having those conversations about relationships and loved ones and everything about intimacy, really what we essentially started to do is we started to open up our hearts and our minds, whether it was healing it or growing it or expanding it, and all of those things, even though they're not directly related to the procedures and the things that we're going to put in our business, have an impact of how inspired we are coming into work every day. So when it comes to the corporate boardrooms of the world or team building or leadership training, I think one of the big lessons we can take as we move forward is that, yes, it's important to talk about things that are related to work, but it's also equally important to talk about things that are just about life and our hearts and our minds. Because when we bring ourselves to work, we bring all of ourselves to work. And so it's important that we nurture our whole self when it comes to being successful at work overall. Number 3. The power of a surprise and delight. So the last morning of our retreat, Alexis invited us to all come to breakfast in our bathrobes, just to have some fun, really just to be playful. So there we are, a room full of entrepreneurial women, all in our bathrobes. And then Alexis makes an announcement and says, this afternoon, we are all going to get to take a helicopter ride touring the Rocky Mountains. Now, the women in this room make 7, 8, or 9 figures in their business. They are powerful women. Many of them have had incredible experiences. But that didn't matter in that moment. in that moment, the fact that she had surprised us and given us such a delight meant that every single woman in that room squealed with delight. Some of us actually went into the helicopter pad and got our training in our bathrobes. In fact, a couple of women actually took the training in their bathrobes, which was really, really fun. But the thing was that the takeaway for me was that the surprise and delight that we give to somebody really just shows how much we care about them. And so, yes, there's budget cuts and there's efficiencies and all kinds of things that need to be considered in business every day. But sometimes the power of that little surprise and delight, the power of going above and beyond and giving somebody an extraordinary experience can have a lasting impact on us. And that can make us more inspired at work and get us to do way more than we could ever imagine. And most importantly, I wanted to share lesson number 4, which was all about creating a giving culture. So Alexis is so carefully curating the women who attend this event. And from day one, every woman who came into this retreat came in to give of themselves, because they all believed that when you give of yourself, you're going to get back exponentially. And I experienced that at the retreat myself as well. What was incredible was that there's these women who are so powerful and so successful in business, but we all shared the same types of fear, the same types of validations we needed. There were all kinds of things that bonded us together, no matter what level we were in business. And the thing was that when everybody came to give of themselves, it created such a rich environment. So the next time that you're at work or you're in a meeting or you're meeting with a group of people, I think it's worth for us all to ask ourselves, what am I willing to give in this meeting today? What is the power of my intention? What do I want to give? How well do I want to create those connections? Because how we walk into work and the mindset we bring can make or break our experiences at work. And in fact, it can make or break how inspired we feel at work as well. So there you have it, the 4 most important lessons that I learned at the Dovetail Retreat. I'm going to leave you with one thought. If you are a female founder and you liked these lessons and you want to be a part of this community, Alexis is planning her next Dovetail Retreat for next year and is accepting applications. You know, I went on this retreat based on somebody referring me, and so I want to do the same thing now and refer it to other women who really could have an amazing experience from this as well. Just so you know, I'm not an affiliate marketer. I'm not getting anything out of this, but I think there's real power in these connections that you can make and these experiences that you have. And Alexis, in my opinion, is just a genius at putting these experiences together. And the next time you go into work and you want to think about how inspired you can be, keep those 4 lessons in mind. Let's remember the power of intention and how we can build a team when we come in with the specific purpose of making connections with each other. Let's also remember that work and life don't have boundaries anymore. That when we bring ourselves to work, we bring our whole selves to work. So the next time we're looking at our employees or we're looking at people around us and saying, how can we create a better experience and do better at work and be more inspired at work? Let's think of our whole self. Number 3 was all about surprising and delighting. In whatever scale that might mean, it just really communicates that we care about you and you matter. And that's an important thing we need to bring to our work. And last but not least, it is the power of giving. Let's create a giving culture for each other, where when we come into work together, we are willing to give of each other and give of ourselves. Because at the end of the day, when you give to somebody, that benefit comes back to you tenfold. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like it. And if you know someone who you think would like to see something like this as well, please share the video. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every week on Tuesdays.